Hello, everybody. My name is Mondre Moffett. I am your host. This is Black Music Footprints, a Jazz Experience. The overarching idea about Black Music Footprints is that we celebrate the rich performance traditions of African American music. And what we do is examine the footprints of those musical giants that laid a pathway down for artistic and new artistic expressions. And so today is no exception. We have in the house a three-time Grammy nominee, GMA Awards. This accolades crazy, but more importantly, a performer that has been very, very prolific in songwriting, performed all over the world. Just excellent vocalist. And if we had a studio audience in the house, I'm sure everybody would be standing on their feet to help me welcome the great Jason Claiborne.
Man, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor for you to announce me like that. I appreciate it. And you're a legend, man. So I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Man, I just have been a big fan of yours. And I was just thinking, in the last few weeks, you have been on fire. And as a trumpeter, I really admire your delivery. Now, you may not be aware of it, but I was watching you, and you come with a delivery. You know, on the stage, there's blocking. You know, you stand here, but you'll make a statement, then you take 5 steps over there, and you make another statement, and you take, 5 steps this way, and you sing another phrase. And I said, that's how I want to play trumpet. I want to lay something down and then take a step over here. So you're giving me all type of ideas, but man. It's just so many accolades for what I want to discuss with you.
Yeah.
But first, I'm going to start with your vocal prowess, your lyric tenor. It seems like you're totally free. You can go anywhere with the words, with the lyrics. I've seen you go from a small combo setting with a band, but I've seen you matriculate into an orchestral setting. With the Louisville Symphony, you're comfortable in any type of environment and still be able to, your voice is still very strong, and I really admire that versatility that you have. So, yeah, man.
I've always wanted to be that person that is able to be multifaceted when it comes to being able to adapt to the atmosphere, like a chameleon or like a lizard that you see, that blends in with its environment. Musically, I wanted to be that guy, and for years, right now for the last 3 weeks, all I've listened to is jazz. And my son got in the car. He said, "Daddy, what is that?" I said, "Oh man, Thelonious Monk and Art Tatum and Wynton Marsalis and people are like, Jay, you're a singer. Why are you listening to that?" And I said, it intrigues my musicality. I don't know why I listen to it right now at this moment, but something about it pulls me into it. Even I can feel the vocals on top of it, even when it's not being sung.
That explains a lot, because I notice how you're able to manipulate a melody. You can take it and you can fit it and you can bend it, and I see because it's just what you perfect for being there, because this is a jazz experience.
Yes, sir.
And we're speaking of that improvisational aspect and approach to the music, to be in the moment.
Yes. People need to know the lineage of gospel music too, and Thomas Dorsey, who was a jazz artist. So you can't do gospel and not be influenced by jazz. There's no way, because the father of gospel music was a jazz artist. He took that jazz sound and attached it to hymns. So I tell anybody that, young cats that want to do be an artist or be a writer, I'm like, you have to study. You have to know the different genres and be a part of them all, so that it can become a part of your style. Become a part of your style.
Yeah, Thomas Dorsey was a music director for Bessie Smith and Ma Rainey. They called him Georgia Tom.
Yeah.
Back in the day. He had a hit before Precious Lord, called Tight Like That.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think 1926.
Okay.
And so was smart enough with such great leadership to get Mahalia Jackson to sing his music.
Right. Brilliant.
Brilliant move. And I want to talk to you about where that versatility comes from. I mean, who influenced you? What was the first song that you ever heard or ever sang? Where does that come from?
I would have to say my great-grandfather would know music in the garden out on Cooper Chapel Road in Louisville, Kentucky. I heard him singing By and By. We are often tossed and driven on this restless sea of time. Sombered skies and howling tempests often succeed a bright sunshine. In the land of perfect day, when the mist has rolled away, we will understand it better by and by. And when he sang it with no music, I was intrigued as a young boy, 10, 11, and he was crying while he was singing it. And I was like, Granddaddy, why are you crying? He was like, these are tears of joy, because I know where I'm going when I leave here.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's Charles Abbott Tinley.
Yes.
1905.
Man.
That's who that is.
And your catalog in your brain is amazing.
Yeah, and you must know thousands of songs, man.
Yeah, it becomes, it's so much in my head, but those verses stuck with me as one of the first songs that I learned. And after I learned the melody of the song, I started breaking down the lyrical content. And I think that's what really intrigued me on becoming a songwriter is, if you can speak a song, a lot of times it will be spoken into somebody's heart when you write it. Yeah,
and you played drums early on.
Yes. I was a drummer. I could still hold the service down. I could still hold the service down if I had to.
Yeah. I think that I saw your son playing one day after service.
Yes, it's interesting. And now this new regime, he's way better than me already, and he's 8.
I heard it.
And that's because of YouTube. You have unlimited access to every style of drummer. And so one day upstairs in his room, I thought he had left the YouTube on. And when I went upstairs, it was him playing. And I was like, he's going to be incredible. So I started sending little video clips to drummer friends of mine who play for major artists. And they were all like, man, he's going to take our jobs.
Yeah, so we know, and your son is not just, he's going to walk in your footsteps. And you're walking in the footsteps of giants.
Definitely.
And so here's something here, a little snippet.
God, we give you glory. We give you honor. And all of the praise belongs to you. We want you to sing this all over the world. Yeah. Here we go. I give you glory.
Yes. That introduction, that's an opener. And a closer. Yeah. I mean, just those majestic horns at the beginning and the way you just set the atmosphere. And I might as well say right now, speaking of atmosphere, the atmosphere changes perhaps maybe underrated.
Definitely.
Because the work that they're doing, your latest recording, I think is phenomenal. And I think you featured them on one of the pieces. You call them there.
Realize that you are the creator of the heavens and the earth. And we're going to give you all glory because it goes to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to you the atmosphere changes. Hey.
You can't do what you do without a good team behind you. And what is the acronym for team? I got it from our pastor. Together, everyone achieves more. And I feel like you can't do it without a solid team. Yeah, you could do some things by yourself, but shout out to the Atmosphere Changers, and they've been with me since they were 11 and 12. They've grown up. They started in the choir here at St. Stephen Church, the Voices of Praise. When I took it over in 2006, it grew to over 200 young people. So yes, it was incredible. Sunday morning on a fourth weekend was pandemonium here at the church. 200 young people on stage singing God's praises. It's absolutely incredible. And shout out to them. And they're my family. They're my little brothers and little sisters, and I love them. I've been a father figure, uncle, all of that to them. And yeah, they're incredible.
Well, that explains the whole mystery in my mind too, because when I arrived maybe just on a couple of years ago, I can see the chemistry and the tightness of what's happening. And I've been a part of some great ministries. I was with the Hawkins family and Kevin Bond and Carl Wheeler and them cats, and out on the West Coast and on the East Coast. You know, I've been with some great music ministries. And when I walked in St. Stephen, I say, this is a other level. And from what I've heard in the past, and that explains it. It has that type of history and chemistry and togetherness. And that, you know, I actually want to talk with Dr. Cosby, because I think he is an undercover musician.
Most definitely. Well, his mom was a musician.
Yeah, I read that in his book.
Yeah, so he really wants to sing.
But he used musical terms like
all the time.
He said, you know, this lineage in the scripture, it was a cacophony up until you got to a certain level, a point in the word. But, you know, I just say cacophony. That is a musical term, you know, and he's so lyrical.
Yes, very much so.
You know, he's so lyrical in his delivery. So
I probably owe him some money, because a lot of the hit songs that I've written for artists have come from him preaching on Wednesday night Bible study or Sunday morning. Wow. Definitely. I always get inspired by a message or something that he preaches. He's definitely a big part of my life and ministry.
Yeah. So I was talking about your outstanding vocal prowess and what you're able to do with your voice, but your songwriting, again, going back to your songwriting, what you write for so many artists, it was for Sean Mitchell, Hezekiah Walker, and the like. How did that come about? I mean, how did you end up writing for those artists? Well,
I started in the Thomas Dorsey Convention, and a lot of them grew up there. Donald Lawrence and Hezekiah Walker was a part of the YYA, which is the Youth and Young Adult Department. And my mom grew up with them when they were nobodies.
That's right.
And so when I grew up, and when I was born, and they found out I had the musical capability of also of being a leader, I got really excited of watching writers from all over the country come together, and the different sounds from, like you said, the LAs, the Atlantas, the New Yorks, the Phillies. You know, everybody brought their sound, the New Jerseys, and it was incredible. And so I took that back and brought it and attached it to my Louisville sound. And I do believe we have a sound here. I do.
Yes. So it's just so much more I want to get into. We're going to take a brief pause for the cause. We'll be back with Jason Claiborne. Don't go anyplace.
I give you honor. All of my praise belongs to you. Yeah, for you've been awesome. And the blessing in my life, gotta let you know, all of my praise belongs to you. Say, I give you glory. I give you honor. All of my praise belongs to you. You have been awesome. Whatever you're going through right now, just know that God can turn it around for you. He'll make that situation beautiful. Thought I was finished, down for the count. Thought it
Indeed,
was
we're back with the great Jason Claiborne here on Black Music Footprints. Just enjoying this piece, God Made It Beautiful. Really one of my personal favorites on this CD. God Made It Beautiful. I get emotional listening to that piece, because Jason, you've been able to take music, take someone's story, and really express it in a way that where it's so relatable to our lives.
I've asked God always when I write that he gives me something that can be relatable to every generation. Mm-hmm. So if you're older and or if you're younger, or you're in that stage of where you're trying to figure out what you want to do, or you're dealing with something in your family, or you're dealing with something, a sickness, or you're having a good time and God is blessing you and the favor of God is on your life. I wanted to make sure that when I write, that something in the song attracts not just your musical ear, but it touches your mind. It touches your mind. So I'm grateful for that. God has given me a pen to be able to do that.
Yeah, and you know, you've written for so many people. It's one thing if someone comes to you and say, Jason, I'd like for you to write me a song. It's another thing, and then you say, okay, you know, and begin to have a mindset to write a song for an artist. But I would think it's another thing for you're not thinking about writing, and God places something on your heart.
And what's incredible, what's incredible about that is that's how my songs get placed. I write them, I submit them, and if you like it, you like it, or if you don't, you don't. And I'll never forget sitting in Nashville in Entertainment One's office. James Fortune was playing them songs from his a couple of albums ago, and I've been knowing James Fortune since he, started. And so I came on as a writer on E1, and I was playing songs, and they were excited about it. And James stopped him and said, "Hey man, do y'all know this cat?" And they said the thing about Jason is he don't need anybody. If you don't do his songs, he can sing them himself.
You're right,
and that's true, man.
Yeah.
I've always just written songs that if nobody else will sing them, I'll do them myself.
Yeah. So we know your foundation with the giants that you followed, and then we know the assimilation of interfacing with different cultures and different settings, from the orchestras and whatever, praise team, whatever setting you find yourself, you're comfortable and adaptable. And then now the third phase that I'm interested in is this innovation. You have a voice, and I'm not just talking about your voice, your physical voice, but your influence that you have on the culture right now.
Yes.
You mentioned some time ago about the Louisville sound. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. We've always had a sound that is artistic and creative when it comes to arranging. It was almost like Muhammad Ali. You know how he could say something, he was quick with it, or he could respond quick, and he was sharp. That's always been a part of this city, especially in our culture, in the Black culture. It's been a part of the creativity that we have, and I just expounded on that. And I took it from my mother, Jocelyn Claiborne, Wilma Claiborne, my grandmother, the things that they've influenced me and kept me around, and then being able to travel overseas with Dr. Ron Canoli and Bishop Hezekiah Walker, and seeing different cultures and how they do what they do. That intrigued me to be able to tap into other sounds and bring it back here and attach it to the gift that God has given me, which is that sound.
That's how you do it. And Ron Canoli, I would imagine he had a great influence on you early on.
Almost definitely. I'll never forget Nashville, Tennessee, first tour I did with him. I walked in a room and I was ready, man. I was doing all of these riffs and all of these runs. He said, "Stop." And I looked at him. He said, "No." And I broke down in tears. He said, "You don't need all of that. Your voice is incredible by itself. Wow. Just sing regular." And I sang, and he had tears in his eyes, and he opened the doors up, and he said, "This is what I want to show you a different way. That, the acrobatics of vocality is good, but the texture and the anointing on your voice, you can use that as well." And so, man, it taught me a whole nother way to use my gift.
That set you on a new path.
Yes.
You're a musician. I remember I was working with this blues artist, Jimmy Witherspoon. He's a world-renowned blues artist. His trumpet player didn't show up or something, and he hired me on the spot. So I'm working for a whole week in San Francisco with him. My kid brother plays drums, and he was in the dressing room. I got the fastest hands in the world. And so he really wanted Jimmy Witherspoon said, yeah, man, come on up and play. So he's trying to press him with all this technique. And Jimmy Witherspoon said, stop. I know you can play fast, but can you play slow?
Ooh. Man.
So that's what that reminds me of, the story. That's exactly what that reminds me of. And my brother Cordero, he just had a totally awakening.
Yeah.
Because he thought the whole idea was to play fast and impress folks with this technique. And Witherspoon said, no, it's not all about that.
It's learning how to, like you said before, I didn't realize it then, but now I do. Learning how to adapt to your environment and understanding that, you know, there's more to your gift. The simplicity of your gift works just as much as the technicality of being able to do everything that you do.
So you musicians that are out here listening to this interview, I hope you're taking notes because Jason is dropping some real pearls on you at this time. And you mentioned your mother, and she wrote a piece about 20 years ago, and then you revived. First of all, let me say, did she like it?
She was in tears when she heard it. And then my father was too, because, you know, for them not to be able at that time to put on wax what they heard, this was a surprise to her and him. And for me to be able to feature him on this as well, it was an incredible moment.
It was a different feel from some of the other songs.
Over 30 years ago, my mom wrote this song with her group Christ Connection. And I just want to honor her and bring it into 2020. Mama, this is for you.
That's a sweet one. I was thinking also about one of the pieces, Praise Belong to You, around about 2 minutes of the piece. You guys have to, you know, pick up Jason Claiborne's music. I mean, there's no excuse for not having it at this point. Anyway, about 2 minutes into the piece, it goes to a modulation, and it's almost, the music almost goes into what I call a fugue. Like the kind of counterpoints that you might hear in a Bach fugue.
Yes, sir.
F-U-G-U-E.
Come on.
Where you have superimpositions of things, harmonies and melodies on top of a melody. And then you guys, this is what happens in your music. And then you come out of the modulation and it sounds like the time has changed, but it hasn't really changed. The accents are placed at a different point. We call that in music hemiole. And then you just land on your feet. And I said, I haven't heard that in gospel music.
It's anytime you do something fresh or you do something new, it takes time for people to catch up to you. You know, like the Kirk Franklins or whoever, at that moment, the Thomas Dorseys, the James Clevelands, the Mattie Moss Clarks, the Clark sisters, all of that. There was a season and a time where people were like, what is that? And I feel like I'm a part of that next regime of gospel music where it's going. And to be silently led by those that you look up to is incredible. You know, like I haven't got to work with Kirk Franklin, but he said to me multiple times, I see you. I hear what you're doing. And I'm like, that's a stamp from a great who set another sound. outside of the Walter Hawkins and the Andre Crouches, who, you know, were working with Disney and were working with, you know, Donnie McClurkin, who was working with the Prince of Egypt. I've sat with these giants and had conversations with them. So what do you take from that? You don't take the fact that you are sitting with them. You listen and you retain the stories and the things that God has done in their life to attach it to the learning processes of what the Lord is going to do in your life on a personal level.
You are spilling the tea. You're spilling the tea and you're speaking truth. And I just see so much of what you're saying that has happened to me in my life, sitting with the giants in their dressing rooms, in their hotel rooms. And then the great Art Blakey look at me and tell me, okay, it's up to you now.
Right.
You know, you have to pass this on. This out of the clear blues. You listening, all right, it's up to you. And so, you know, I take that and then I feel that call and that responsibility.
Yes, sir.
You know, to be true to the art form, be true to my call. And leadership is about influence and service. And so to be of service and to be influential and influence those that are coming up. And sometimes you don't have to influence but one. Now, we're almost out of time. Okay. Oh, my God. I'm having such a great time. On the Black Music Footprint Show, I play the name game. I throw out a name, and my guests respond with 5 words or less.
All right.
All right. James Cleveland.
Legend. A part of the beginning of gospel music.
Wow. I should like to comment on that, but we don't have time.
I know. You got to bring me back. We have to do it again.
And I was thinking about Mattie Marsh Clark.
Yes. Actually, probably one of the most hardest choir directors in the world.
I heard she used to take her shoes out and throw it at people. They don't sing the right note.
That's the next level choir director. She's the choir master.
She's the choir master. What about, let's say, Hezekiah Walker?
My godfather and my mentor.
I'd like to thank you, Jason, for joining me here, man, on Black Music Footprint. It has been a pleasure to have you as guest.
Thank you so much.
I have been a tremendous fan of your music.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for joining us. If we had a studio audience, I'm sure they'd be on their feet, clapping their hands and stomping their feet. So my name is Mondre Moffitt, Black Music Footprints.